I just wanted to thank our physicians uh, for being with us during this pandemic and for being able to share a little bit of their experiences today. Also wanted to say thank you to everybody that's worked in these centers, either a short time or has been with us the whole time. What you do every day is fantastic. This vaccine will be the next tool to help us get rid of this pandemic and get back to normal. Um, Dr. Zia is an infectious disease physician at Clifton Oaks. Dr. Barber is a board certified geriatrician at St. Matt's. Dr. Dudenoff is an internal medicine physician at Frankfurt. Dr. Ramadan is an internal medicine physician with Alice Care Centers. So each of these people have been in our buildings or in the community and dealing with this. And I just appreciate their time and look forward to listening to their conversations. Dr. Zia, if you want to take it away.
Well, thank you very much for having me. And it's a great pleasure to have a chance to talk to you all about the importance of the vaccine. I guess so far, most people already know a lot about the vaccine, but I know there's plenty of questions if you have not received one. Personally, I already got my vaccine a few weeks ago. The importance of vaccine is quite obvious because without it, having the infection is pretty horrible, I would say. We have so many deaths so far. And people would say, well, now we see our numbers getting better. We should be, less worried. But let me tell you, actually, I'm more worried now than ever because there's so many new variants that potentially can come into your neighborhood. We got so far the Indian variants, South Africa, and the Brazilian variants. All these could be the biggest challenge down the next few weeks or next few months. So I think this is still a very important time for all of us to get a vaccine. Now let me talk about some of the issues with the vaccine. Currently, I believe we probably would get the RNA vaccine that is Pfizer's, I guess. Johnson & Johnson vaccine, I believe currently is now available. That is the alternative. For the Pfizer vaccine or Moderna vaccine, I believe the major side effects would be some of the reactions, mainly sometimes fever, some minor headaches or achiness, even flu-like symptoms. Usually these are very short period of time. It goes away quite quickly. And you can also take some medication to suppress the symptom if you want to. But so far, I have a lot of nurse and physicians in our hospital received the vaccine, and most people are having very, I would say, good tolerance. The Johnson & Johnson is one that I guess we have some issues. A few weeks ago, there's a correlation with blood clots, but that is even very, very few. It's about 2 in 1 million. So the odds is very low. But certainly I believe this is probably not what you're gonna get. But even you receive that, as I said, besides that small percentage of the problem, the other side effects are much milder compared with Pfizer and the Moderna vaccine. So at the end, you still have to think about the situation without vaccine. If you get infection, what going to be the consequence? And thinking about to the people around you, your family members, and in our institution, your patients. So that is, I'll give you more reason why you should consider seriously about the get vaccination. So I'll probably stop here because I'm assuming there might be a lot of questions, and I will probably be more focused on those questions whenever I get a chance.
Thank you, Dr.
Thank you.
Yeah, we'll gather the questions and hopefully have a good amount of time at the end. But Dr. Barber, Take it away.
Thank you. Thank you, Mark and Exceptional, for arranging this important webinar. I think at this stage, we are at crossroads. As a nation and as a community, we can put this virus in the books of history if we all get ourselves vaccinated. This is very important at this point, because even with these variants, we know that vaccination gonna decrease the complications, and it's gonna help us in converting this virus like flu virus, that where it becomes a mild disease rather than a disease which is taking human lives away ruthlessly. And this can only be possible if majority of us in our country and across the world, they get their vaccination, and the transmission of the virus slows down and its mutation slows down. As a healthcare provider, I can see there are around 129 participants here. And I want to first of all salute you guys that in last year, in January, February, March, when we were on the front lines, there was so much fear of unknown, and we did not know about the tenacity of this virus at that point. And then we saw a lot of our beloved patients and also a lot of friends and family members that we have lost against this virus. Then we got our vaccines. I got my vaccine in December, I think within the second or third day. And quite frankly, that I had my own concerns at that point. I did my research. The biggest thing I was worried about was Bell's palsy. I didn't want to lose my taste buds either. So I did I read the study of the Pfizer, and then when I realized that the people who got the Bell's palsy, the incidence was even less than the general prevalence in the community. Because Bell's palsy can happen anyways, and less. Whereas with Pfizer, it did not increase it more than what we have normally. So that's how I went ahead. I got my injection by first week of January. I had my second vaccine also, and when I got some mild aches and pains. So far, millions and millions of vaccines have been delivered. There were few atypical cases which has happened, but I'll be honest, we don't even know for sure that if that has happened because of the. Sorry, guys, I'm in a hospital setting, and somebody just came in my room, and I have to put my mask on. So we don't know that these cases, that it just happened by chance, or it has to do anything with the vaccine. I look at that in a way that it's a nice summer afternoon, and we are watching a ball game in a stadium, and the ball droppings just fall on my head rather than other thousands of people around me. So it's just a chance of your luck. So I think especially when we are in healthcare setting, it's imperative to get the vaccine, not only to reduce our risk, but also to make sure that we don't transfer this virus to our loved ones back home, and also to our residents. So I think that there is risk in life for everything. We don't know the next moment what's going to happen. We're going to drive home, or what's going to happen to us. So those are the chances. Same way we have with the vaccine. I had a very dear friend who, in his early 50s, he did not take the vaccine. He only had diabetes, 5 miles a day. And then he got sick. He was just at home. He did not even get to the hospital. He had fever and all those things. And then he had a sudden death at home. And I, as a physician, I'm attributing it to maybe a pulmonary embolism or a myocardial infarction, because we are seeing a lot of thromboembolic phenomena with this virus. So please try to understand there are serious life-threatening complications which can happen with this virus. And if you take the vaccine, it's gonna decrease the chances of having a serious illness. It's gonna definitely help you. Yes, it is not 100% safe, but it is 95% safe in there, and it's gonna reduce that. And as Dr. Zia mentioned, we cannot relax at this point. We are seeing a surge of patients in the hospital now. We didn't have many patients in last 2 months, but now slowly we are seeing this surge of patients, and we are seeing more younger patients, and we are seeing that they are really sick. I had a patient last week, elderly gentleman, he was on 2 liters of oxygen from get-go. I gave him the remdesivir and the plasma, Decodron, all the tools which we have at hand. And I thought that he's gonna get better. But within 4 or 5 days, he got on to 15 liters. We had to intubate him. And then 2 days ago, he passed away. So please, guys, this is a serious illness. The risk of vaccination is very little as compared to the complications with these variants coming on. Still, I know some of my friends going to talk about the variants, but even with the variants, it can decrease the severity of the disease. It can still give you protection against some of the variants. And also it's important to take the vaccination to make sure that we don't form new variants and we don't get the same situation which we had last year. So please take your vaccine and believe in modern science, and remind yourself that we had flu, polio, we have so many other pandemics which had taken millions of lives, but because of vaccination, we were able to get them under control. And God willing, we will take this vaccination also, this virus also under control, but it's gonna need all of us and all our combined effort, and vaccination is the key part, along with hand washing, social distancing, and wearing the mask. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Bobber. Dr. Dudinoff, love to hear from you.
Well, thank you, Mark, for having me, and Exceptional Living for putting this together. What a difference a year makes. My experience has been mostly in the subacute nursing facilities, nursing homes, as well as acute care in the hospitals in the Lexington, Kentucky area. So last year, we were caught flat-footed. We were fighting and struggling with PPE. We had limited testing ability. We had no treatment modalities that were on hand. But over the course of the year, we see that we've been able to solve some of these problems. So PPE is not an issue. We have therapeutic modalities available. And now there's a vaccine, but not only one vaccine, there's 3 vaccines. So it puts us in a good place. Yes, there are variants, and science will continue to work on addressing those variants. But we're still learning. This is still an ongoing process. There is no perfect vaccine. We do know that infections are expected, but the vaccine decreases very much the transmissibility of this virus. There's been discussions as to why you should get the virus and the vaccines, that it's a civil duty, but ultimately I think it is a personal responsibility to yourself, to your family, for your loved ones, so that you do not get severely ill. And that is what we do know, that these vaccines decrease the likelihood of severe and critical illness. So I, like many of you, struggled with determining whether I was going to get the vaccine. Unfortunately or fortunately, prior to the vaccines becoming available, I did contract COVID in late November, early December, and it was not a great experience. I felt like I had the plug pulled out for me. I had no energy. And it was not something that I would ask for anyone. In comparison, it was a mild disease. I did not have to go to the hospital. I didn't require oxygen, but it was enough for me to decide that when the vaccine was available to me, I would get it. Now, there are different types of vaccines. That's a different conversation that might come up in discussion. So there's the mRNA vaccines, there's the adenovirus type vaccines. Down the line, there will likely be recombinant protein designed vaccines. But that's I don't think that's the purpose of this discussion. I was holding off for the recombinant ones just because of the technology, but when Johnson & Johnson was available, I had that one. I took that one. One of the things that I think is largely forgotten is in the healthcare setting, it's predominantly the women who are caretakers. And so some of the vaccine hesitancy has been due to, from my experience, the lack of information on women of childbearing age. And so as this information is coming more and more readily to the safety profiles of women who are about to become pregnant or already pregnant, that is very important. We do know that contracting COVID while you're pregnant is is increase the risk of preterm deliveries and complications. So that discussion, we need to have that discussion about the safety profiles for the population that are caring for our residents in the facilities, in the nursing home. So I advise anyone who is considering it, who has not taken it, to take it, to get the vaccine so that they can protect their self first and their families. I'll leave it there.
I apologize, I was on mute. Dr. Ramanan, would love to hear from you.
So hi everyone. I appreciate being here today. So I appreciate what my colleagues have said so far, and I wouldn't want to belabor the point about the importance of vaccinations, but I did want to kind of bring it down a little bit to more I don't say the practicality of working on the floors. I know last week or 2 weeks ago, we had a situation at Alice Care where one of the patients got a COVID test that came back positive on one of our residents. And I'll tell you honestly, it was like PTSD, because literally 1 year ago, we had a massive COVID outbreak where more than at least about 60 of our patients end up with COVID, with multiple of them passing away. And just having this one resident come up with a positive COVID test, everybody was they just remembered exactly what happened last year. And the amount of stress from the extra hours working and seeing the patients we've cared for so many years just get so ill and die before our eyes. And even just in the midst of that, just remove, like, the room changes were the worst, I think, for me. But at the same time, the room changes and the extra stress, people being off and sick, your own colleagues, the CNAs, the RN, all of them getting sick and having to go home and being short-staffed. And so I think it just brought back a lot of PTSD. And I believe within exceptional liabilities in our buildings, two buildings that actually have a second wave coming along. And it's not something to be taken lightly. Last year was one thing. This year could be another thing, and it also could be prevented. Or even to a certain extent, when it comes to vaccinations, it's not 100% to protect you from getting it. But the thing is, the risk of you having such a severe COVID illness is significantly less. And so the risk of you dying from it is significantly less. And so I think you have to take some of those things in consideration. It's like, you may be young, but at the same time, the strains that are out there, right, in Wisconsin, there's about 40% of the original strain that's out there. And I think there's about 40 or 45% of the UK strain out there. And there's even some of the Brazilian strain that's actually within Wisconsin in the area. And the thing to think about in those kind of strains is that, like the UK strain, these strains are actually much more, they spread faster, they're much more contagious, they transmit faster. They're actually affecting a lot of the younger people. And because it's requiring, like, in order for you to overcome the infection, you're requiring even a higher antibody response from some of these strains, that even the young people are actually dying from it. So going through a second wave of this, to be frankly, even after having COVID, I don't want to do it again. I cringe by thinking about it, and I don't even know how y'all think about it, because think about, you're short-staffed even now. You think about that people are going to, you're even more short-staffed now because a lot of your colleagues have left healthcare, and now they're going to get sick because they didn't take the vaccine. And so you have to take some of those things in consideration beside your own personal health, but think about what's going to happen to your patients and yourself in general and your family. The other thing to kind of think about in the second wave is, the general not the psyche of the entire situation, but how this is actually going to affect you from a mental perspective, and is it really worth it? I know we talked a lot about from a health perspective, but there's a lot of stress that comes about it, all because of not taking the vaccine. There's a lot of guidelines that came out even within the last week from CDC that basically says that if we are in a gathering within a facility and we all are vaccinated, we don't need to wear a mask. And so to me, it creates ability for family members to come in and to return to some level of normalcy, some level of like we could sit in a conference room and have a conversation without wearing a mask. And so if one of us is not vaccinated, then all of us have to wear a mask. All of us have to protect ourselves. And so you have to take in consideration some of those things as well, because if you want to get back anywhere close, we have to take that step of being able to protect ourselves and to protect our colleagues. And so, you know, the more and more as time goes by, you'll also see, even with the vaccinations, is that, you know, when it comes to traveling, can you travel to certain countries? No. You know what? If you want to go to Canada right now, you better show your vaccination card because you can't get into Canada. So, you know, just the practicality of, like I said, just staying healthy. The world is changing. The requirements are changing. CDC guidelines are changing. And in order for us to get back to normal, we do need to get vaccinated.
If I look at this from a layman's terms, if you're a fireman going into a fire, you wear all your equipment. This vaccine for our frontline workers, our healthcare heroes, is your fire equipment. So, you know, I just implore that everybody get that vaccine. So LA or Carol, I'll turn it over to you.
Yes, we have some great questions. So if you can hang on just a few more minutes, Carol's gonna choose some of our frequently asked questions, and we'll wrap this up here shortly.
Can everyone hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Fantastic. So one of the first questions is, can the vaccine give you COVID? Dr. R, would you like to take that question?
Absolutely. So the vaccines cannot give you COVID. What the vaccines do is, like, such as the mRNA, is that your body produces a piece of what the virus would look like. It's the M protein, and so your body naturally produces that M protein because of the virus, because of the vaccine, and that is just a piece of the virus, and so that cannot give you COVID.
Thank you. One of the other questions that came through the Q&A is, has the vaccine been approved by the FDA yet? Dr. Z, would you like to take that?
Dr. Z, you're on mute.
Can you hear me?
Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Now, it is certainly being approved by FDA. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that. One of the other questions that came through the Q&A is, if I'm allergic to the flu vaccine, should I take the COVID vaccine? Dr. D, would you care to answer?
Sure. The evidence is that you should take the flu vaccine. You would want to know what level of reaction that you had when you said allergy to. Was it anaphylaxis? If there's anaphylaxis, you would want to be in a monitored setting. If not, then if not anaphylaxis, then it would be safe to take the vaccine.
Thank you, Dr. D. I've had COVID. Should I still get the vaccine? Dr. Bobber, would you like to take that one? Oh, please, go ahead.
Yes.
No, go ahead, Dr.
Barbara.
Hart.
Sure. So I would say I've had COVID and I've actually taken the vaccine, and I would highly encourage it. And so, like with anybody that gets a illness, you do produce a certain amount of antibodies. But as the variants have come along, those variants require you to have even a higher amount of antibody response. And so these vaccines that we're getting right now help to build even a higher amount of antibody response, which will allow you to fight the variants, fight COVID even more. And so if I were to, like say me, if I were to encounter COVID again, and I were to get it, my body will be able to respond and fight it even better. And the chances of me getting a very severe illness would be low. So yes, you should get it.
Thank you so much for that. Dr. Bobber, if you could address how long is the effectiveness of the vaccine? Right now, it's recommended that it's a year's worth. Is that still the case?
So as we all know that the information is changing by the minute, and we do not have longer studies, but we know that the antibodies are lasting at least for 6 months and I think with time we'll find out. But even if the antibodies diminish and decrease, still our immune system is very complex, and I believe that our T and B cells, they will fight against the vaccination. One thing for sure gonna be happening, that we will get a booster shot. So with all these variants out there, the vaccine will be adjusted. I think I'll not be surprised that by winter if we get a booster shot. So I think these with time we'll see that how long they are lasting in the body. But in my humble opinion, that even if the antibodies decrease, still they offer protection. Our immune cells are sensitized, and I think they will react to that. But we will see more evidence in coming year.
Thank you for that. Dr. Dudnar, would you like to take this question? One of the questions in the chat was, how long can I anticipate my arm being sore from the vaccinations?
Everybody's
It's
going
a
to be
good
different, but
question, isn't it?
It's
Yes.
a good question, but it's a short period of time, a day or two, 3 maybe the most, but it's a short period of time. The recommendation is not to take NSAIDs or Tylenol to decrease the pain that first 24, 48 hours. So, beyond that, it's just a dull ache and you should be fine. But it is a real common symptom that is reported.
Thank you so much for that. There's another question. What vaccine would you recommend for children to receive? I'm not sure who would like to take that question or who would like to field it.
I have seen the Pfizer trial, which is in the children from age 11 or 12 above, and they had promising results. I'm not aware of Johnson & Johnson if they have any trial in children going on or not.
Yeah, I would agree with Dr. Baber. Pfizer is the only one that's, I believe in September, will be submitting their FDA, looking for FDA approval for children above the age of 12. I believe after that, they'll be looking for children between 2 and 11 and 2 and 12 after that.
Data that I've seen is that the vaccine is actually more effective in that age group, and it actually diminishes over time with age. So they will definitely get more protection, 95, 99% more above what I should say, 95 or 99% efficacy, whereas it decreases with age.
Okay, thank you for that. And then I have one other question that came through the Q&A is, can you get COVID more than one time?
I will take this question.
Thank you.
The answer is yes. Unfortunately, yes. However, the severity may vary. I do have one recent case. A young man had a second episode of infection in just a few months. Unfortunately, we are not able to identify this as a variant, even though I requested, but we are not have the capacity right now. But he recovered pretty nicely. But the answer is yes, because I was able to verify that this is his second infection.
Carol, if you may, if I could just add one thing. I know we didn't really entirely touch this entirely. It's a question that I've received a few times from people regarding vaccinations. And the question I've received was, do the vaccinations cover the variant strains? And the answer is actually yes. So most of these vaccines, like let's say Pfizer and Moderna, they do cover in the 90% range, 93, 94%. And depending on the variant that is out there in the community, such as the UK strain, these Modernas and Pfizers and the Johnson & Johnson, they do cover the strains. Every single one of them, all three of them, do cover it to some range, anywhere from 50 to 90-something% they will cover, depending on the strain. And the thing to remember is like the flu vaccine, they actually cover, the flu vaccine covers you for flu significantly less than the COVID vaccine covers you for COVID. And so if you say, yeah, I have no problem taking the flu vaccine, you know what, you should have no problem taking the COVID vaccine, because how much it protects you is actually way more. It protects you way more than you covering for the flu.
Thank you so much for that. And I have one last question that's come through the chat. If someone has received only one dose of a certain type of vaccine and they want to get a second dose, but the original vaccine is not availably or readily available, what advice is given?
I don't think they are recommending to, like, let's say somebody has taken Moderna and it's not available. They are not recommending to take the Pfizer vaccine at this point. But I think that the way we are having the amount of vaccination and the available, I think there should be no reason not to find the second dose of whatever particular type of vaccines somebody has received at this point.
All right, that concludes our question and answers. I believe I've hit them all. Thank you so much.
Thank you again to our panel and to everyone who's been able to participate in the call. It's important. It's important to the company. I know it's important to everybody that's on this Zoom. Again, I thank you for your time. Lauren, Ashley, do you want to close it up?
Thank you, Mark. I would also like to thank our panelists and our listeners for their time today. Attendees, please take a few moments to complete our survey. You can find the survey link by visiting exceptionallivingcenters.com/doc-talk. We would really appreciate your feedback. Thanks again and have a great day.